Spoiler warning! To anyone who isn't my son, if you haven't seen this film from 1995 by now, you either don't care and therefore will never see it, or you're not sure and you're hoping this video will convince you one way or the other. Either way, you have been warned. Dear Xavier, Dad here. I think it's time we talked about Batman Forever. You love this film. I often hear you humming the theme while you play with your many Batman toys. And when it's your turn to pick a film, it's usually your go-to. So I've lost count of how many times you've made us watch it together as a family. But let's face it, it's a deeply flawed film, a relic of its time. From the irrelevant tie-in soundtrack or the love interest with no agency, to Jim Carrey's most Ace Ventura role since he last Venturaed in Ace. And yet somehow, Batman Forever still manages to be your favorite Batman movie of all time. You have a vast array of age-appropriate Batman properties at your fingertips. The Lego Batman movie, The Mask of the Phantasm, Batman the Brave and the Bold, the Batman vs. Dracula, Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker, though that one does go to some seriously dark places, and so many more. All of which you love, and yet somehow Batman Forever still manages to be your favorite Batman movie of all time. You are a child of the 21st century. You live at a point in history that offers you so many superhero properties far better than this weird, campy, neon-colored hellscape that spends far too much time trying to portray psychoanalysis as the most erotic form of flirtation between two people who have about as much chemistry as two dry-humping argon particles, you know, because it's a non-reactive gas. Boom! Dad jokes! And yet, somehow, Batman Forever still manages to be your favorite Batman movie of all time. And you know what? It's my favorite too. I lost my mind when this movie came out in 1995. I was 12, and after seeing it at the cinema, 1995 became the year of the Bat. This movie is the reason why I was, and no, I'm not too ashamed to admit this, though I probably should be, a U2 fan. But don't worry, it was only a 7-year phase. But seriously, that song, that soundtrack. My dad soon grew to rue the day he bought me that cassette tape. The Batman Forever soundtrack soon became the soundtrack of my father's living nightmare. From trips in the car to blaring it from behind my bedroom door, being the patient man he was, my dad would merely offer occasionally that he preferred the soundtrack to the 1989 Tim Burton Batman. He'd even try playing it to me a few times, and beyond the actual Prince Bat Dance song, I'd get kinda antsy pretty quickly because I'd just want to go back to my room and start blasting Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me again. Because, oh my god, that soundtrack! It's where I discovered the Flaming Lips, Method Man, PJ Harvey, and to this day, I still cannot find a copy of Michael Hutchins' version of Passenger, and it is epic. It's like the theme song to some intergalactic ninja sworn to protect a grimy, rain-soaked city from... you know what, I'm actually just describing the comic character my 12-year-old mind concocted, which, truth be told, was just a rip-off of Deadpool, Spawn and Guyver. All while I played the cassette tape soundtrack over and over and over, my dad praying for the inevitable moment my tape deck would chew up this relic of repetitive evil. But oddly, this was the one tape my tape deck would never chew up. But this film itself, that was an obsession I held on another level. Okay, full disclosure, for some reason in the 90s a lot of my friends were obsessed with finding the best pirate copies of literally any film they could. They didn't even care which film it was as long as they could brag about the quality. Seriously, why would any preteen want a pirate copy of The American President? And it was never really anything I could relate to, and it's not like my friends would then replace their shoddy pirate copy with a legitimate VHS upon its home release. Instead they would just amass these vast libraries of grainy, barely decipherable monstrosities. And you know, it took me 3 freaking months to realize that Kylie freaking Minogue in the freaking 90s in freaking England was in Street Fighter the movie, because pirate movies suck. But such was my need to see Batman Forever again, that I purchased it as one of only 3 pirate VHSs I would ever buy in my life. The other 2 were the aforementioned Street Fighter movie and a version of the Casper movie, in which I was led to believe that the ghostly trio were only ever featured as invisible throughout the film, so, you know, always buy legit, kids.
Poor quality illegal video cassettes reduce your viewing pleasure and jeopardize future film production.
But anyways, yeah, I watched that film so often that when your granddad would claim back his television, I'd go off to my room and just replay the film verbatim in my head. Seriously, God knows how much actual knowledge had to be sacrificed to make room for that, because I still know it to this day. Mr. Oh, Bruce Wayne. No, that's my name. And you are? Nigma? Edward Nigma? You hired me personally. It's a 1917 Harley. Yep. Indian classic, fully restored. This is a Vincent Black Knight. They only made like 100 of these. 101 actually. She's my favorite. I simply love what you've done with this place. Heavy metal meets house and garden. Ha ha ha. Beautiful. It's so dark and gothic and disgustingly decadent. Yet so bright and chipper and conservative. It's so you, and yet so you. Anyways. I think the problem most people have with this film, other than, I don't know, the writing, the acting, Tommy Lee Jones trying to out Jim Carrey, Nicole Kidman reduced to nothing more than a horny sex object, and Chris O'Donnell trying to convince us that he, a very 25-year-old man, was young enough to be adopted by Bruce Wayne. I mean, come on! The recently orphaned Dick Grayson, who is most likely supposed to be between 16 and 17 years old, was cast as this guy, who I had enjoyed watching playing the grown-ass D'Artagnan only 2 years prior. This was by far the most confusing thing about this movie, and this was a film about mind-reading televisions. So I think the problem most people have with this film, other than the writing, acting, cast, etc., is the very thing Joel Schumacher was trying to achieve.
I wanted to make a living comic book. You know, color, action, adventure. They always have great love stories. Batman is always in a personal turmoil. He's brooding, you know, and introspective. And there was always Batman and Robin.
He wanted to marry the dark, campy Tim Burton goth with the light, campy 1966 Batman. And what we ended up with was something that was, I don't know, weirdly mesmerizing. See, the problem is that, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, Batman Forever is not a reboot. This was to be the third in a series of films in which Gotham is described in the original script as if hell had erupted through the sidewalks, and now suddenly here comes Warner Brothers demanding a more family-friendly version. Gotta push that merchandise, guys, because toys fly off the shelf faster when kids can actually go see the movie. Side note, look up how many R-rated properties in the 80s and 90s had merchandise aimed at kids. Weird times, man. Weird times. So while people were hoping for some kind of continuation of the previous stories, Warner Brothers instead were like, nah, and out went Burton, Keaton, and Elfman, and in came Schumacher, Kilmer, and Goldenthal. But they did keep Michael Gough and Pat Hingle, so that's, I don't know, a boon, I guess. The thing is, Schumacher seems to love the 66 Batman as much as you and I do, and all he wanted to do was make an edgy 90s version of that Batman. Jim Carrey was simply channeling Frank Gorshin with his version of the Riddler, which you always comment is just like the Joker, but strangely Jim Carrey's portrayal is perfect. And I know a lot of people find that version of the Riddler grating, but you know what? I don't care. They can choose not to watch that version if they want. It's not up to us to convince people otherwise. But please, don't ask me to explain what a joygasm is just yet. But anyways, as you go through life, people will tell you that there are better Batman movies, and they're probably right. Hey, I never said Batman Forever was a good film, I just said it was my favorite. Between inexplicable bullet angles, wobbly bat ears, and that laundry scene that is just so weird. I feel you, Alfred. I feel you. Between that and the nagging question of whether or not Two-Face always leaves his lair backwards to maintain symmetry, out of all of that, you get one of the most powerfully self-aware moments in Batman Bruce Wayne canon.
You see, I'm both Bruce Wayne and Batman. Not because I have to be, no. Because I choose to be.
So you know what, Xavier? For better or for worse, you were born into a family of Batman fans. Your indoctrination was so all-encompassing that one of your first words was Batman, though you pronounced it Matman. And if you say Batman Forever is your favorite Batman movie, then more power to you. I've loved that film for nearly a quarter of a century, and I love that you love it because I love watching it with you. Loads of love, Dad. P.S. Whatever anyone might think about this film, there's one thing you have to admit. That car is driving up the side of a freaking building. Seriously, this is the coolest thing ever. Seriously. Car driving up a building. Seriously. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video on Batman Forever. I know it's a bit of a departure from what I would normally do, but I've wanted to explore this format for a long time. I know 90s Batman is a polarizing subject, so why not let me know which of the Batman movies is your favorite down in the comments. I guarantee you I'm gonna get a Dark Knight majority down there. But it's okay, you are allowed to like other Batman movies too. If you're new to the channel, then hit that subscribe button and bell icon to be notified when the next video is up. Here's a sneaky peek at what that will be. Can you guess what it is? Also, if you'd like to support the channel, there's a Patreon you can check out where you can get early access and behind the scenes stuff. So until next time, take care, speak to you soon, goodbye.